Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to try and get inside the head of Iranian political speaker Ali Akbar Raeifi. We're going to deconstruct his worldview, looking at one of his recent speeches to see how he pieces together everything from conflict and the economy all the way to prophecy.
Okay, so to make sense of all this, we've broken his arguments down into 5 key themes. Think of it as our roadmap for today. We'll look at a nation under pressure, the battle within, the external enemy, the economic war front, and finally, a prophesied struggle.
All right, first up, a nation under pressure. At the very core of this entire worldview is one really powerful idea that Iran is always in a state of conflict. It's like a filter. Every single event, no matter how big or small, gets seen as part of this huge ongoing struggle for survival.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly sets the tone, doesn't it? The enemy is listening. It's this call for everyone to stick together, framing national unity as, well, more than just a nice idea. It's the first line of defense in a world where you're constantly being watched. Okay, so moving on to our second point, the battle within. So you might be asking, how does this whole under siege idea play out at home? Well, when you see yourself as constantly under attack, things like protests, they stop being just, domestic issues. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this deliberate reframing. You've got real, everyday frustrations, people upset about high prices, wanting change, and they get completely recast. They're no longer just grievances. They're presented as part of an enemy plot. A domestic issue suddenly becomes a battlefront and a much bigger war.
And here's how that strategy works in practice. Who is happy to see public property damaged? It's a simple, powerful question, right? It draws a line in the sand. You're either with the regular people who rely on that bus, or you're with the enemy who's happy to see it burn. It's that black and white, no room for nuance. Right, so once you've defined the battle at home, it's only natural to turn your attention outward. This brings us to part 3, confronting the external enemy. We're talking geopolitics, drones, and what it means to be Iranian on the world stage. This quote is just dripping with vindication. The story goes like this. They laughed at us. They said our drones were just Photoshop. And now? Now, he says, the Shahed drone is basically the Kalashnikov of the skies. From a joke to an icon. That's a powerful narrative.
And this really hammers the point home. It's not just about the drone working well. The claim here is that it's so good, so revolutionary, that everyone, the US, Russia, China, even Ukraine, is trying to copy it. Think about that journey. From being mocked as fake to being the model everyone wants. That's the whole story right there.
So how do you explain this strategy to people? Well, the speech uses these really cool cultural metaphors. It's not just about politics, it's about character. First, Iran is like a wrestler, tenacious, grabs on, and just does not let go. And second, it's like a carpet weaver, incredibly patient, working away quietly, and then all of a sudden, boom, a masterpiece appears. The message is clear. Our strategy is patient, it's deep, and you won't see it coming.
Okay, let's talk about the economy, because that's where this stuff hits home for everybody. This brings us to the economic war front. And you guessed it, in this worldview, the economy isn't just the economy, it's another battlefield. And economic pain, that's reframed as a tactic.
And look, the speech tackles the elephant in the room head on. It's the obvious question, right? If we're so strong, if we have these incredible drones that everyone's copying, then why is it so hard for regular people to afford things?
So here's the explanation that's offered. The old way of doing things, subsidies for everyone on fuel, bread, you name it, was like just flooding a whole garden with water. Sure, you're watering your plants, but you're also watering all the weeds. And in this story, the weeds are smugglers and non-citizens who are supposedly draining the country's resources.
And that brings us to the proposed solution: drip irrigation. The big takeaway here is that high prices aren't a mistake. They're not a sign of failure. No, they're the result of a conscious, strategic choice. The government is shifting from just flooding the garden to carefully giving water, drop by drop, only to the actual citizens. It's a painful change, but the argument is that it makes the nation tougher for the long haul.
And this is where it all comes together, the final piece of the puzzle, a prophesied struggle. This is the moment where geopolitics meets theology. Everything we've talked about, the protests, the drones, the economy, it all gets tied into this huge spiritual story. So, are these just coincidences? According to this worldview, absolutely not. Unrest in Iran is followed by riots in Minneapolis. An attack on Iran is followed by a massive cold snap in the US. The argument being made is that these aren't random events. They're presented as divine payback, suggesting that the nation has a kind of cosmic protection.
And then you get this. A direct line is drawn from a prophecy about columns of fire rising from the east to modern-day missile launches. This is a huge leap. It takes a military action and elevates it, turning it into the fulfillment of prophecy. Suddenly, everyone watching on the news isn't just watching the news, they're witnessing something biblical.
So what's the bottom line here? It's that in this worldview, nothing is ever just what it is. A protest isn't just a protest. A price hike isn't just about economics. Everything, and I mean everything, is given this cosmic meaning. It's all part of a much bigger, prophesied fight.
Which really leaves us with one final big question to think about. When politics turns into prophecy, what's the end game? If every political and military move is seen as a step in some divine plan, well, that completely changes what winning even means, doesn't it? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.